You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense.
If it's about giving me free things, then please leave a message. If it's about anything else at all, then text or email, because no one leaves answer phone messages anymore. In fact, it's weird I even have an answer phone when most of the Radio Nonsense listeners won't even know what it is. If you really need to contact me, why not send any messages you have to Lemons Are Us, where they will paint them yellow and sell them to someone as a lemon, and then I'll never have to read them.
Hello, it's me again, Tiernan here on a Radio Nonsense holiday special, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast for all ages from to and everything in between. But, you know, on vacay, on hollybobs, you know, on the holidays. This is the second episode while I'm on my travels before this podcast returns to normal, if it's ever been normal. Has it ever been normal? It's quite normal, isn't it, on most days? You might remember last week I was meant to be on the Canary Islands, but instead Linda booked me into a Canary's Island. He was called Greg. He was very angry that I'd ruined his peace and quiet. Well, as you can probably hear, I escaped that, but now this week is somehow worse. I thought instead of being on Greg's Island that I was going to go to the Caribbean, and in fact I'm here, sat on a carob bean. Yes, a single bean from a carob plant, which it's like chocolate but rubbish and boring and doesn't taste as nice. Apparently I have to sit here for a week because I booked it, except I'm certain I didn't, and I don't know who that is. They've been buzzing around for ages. It is awful, and I have absolutely no idea who this is. But they really smell. I'll be honest, I almost miss Greg Canary. Almost. Anyway, because I'm on holiday, if that's what this is, then like last week, I thought I'd answer some of the questions that have been sent in by you listeners, who've already had questions answered by experts. I do really admire your curiousness, but obviously it was only fair that people that had never had a question answered got theirs answered first, so all these have been sitting in a second question pile. And I'm not as trained as the brilliant experts that I ask onto the show, but let me tell you, I can still give a real good answer. Sometimes, maybe. And so I thought I'd try to answer some of these questions that you listeners have sent in before. And maybe I'd give it a go just so you didn't have 2 weird weeks where instead of Radio Nonsense you had to listen to the sounds of, I don't know, upset mosquitoes or cars not starting or a whale singing K-pop. I have no idea what the sounds near you are like, so I just sort of imagined some. I would actually really like to hear a whale doing K-pop. I reckon it'd be amazing. Sorry, I'm just very bored sitting on this carob bean. So anyway, here are some answers to some questions. This was sent in by K-Doc, who has written in loads before and left some very lovely reviews for the show. Thank you, K-Doc. K-Doc had a question answered ages ago, but then sent in this one too, which is, why are trees trees? Very good question, K-Doc. Trees are trees because if they were bees, they'd have a lot of difficulty flying around and landing in flowers. I mean, can you even imagine a tree thinking it's a bee? A huge, big, wooden tree crushing a flower or trying to fly around your picnic? How would a tree fit in the hive? It would be awful. How would the hive be on a tree if the bee is a tree? It's too confusing. So basically trees got told they just had to be trees as that was easier, and that way people would actually get to eat honey instead of bits of tree bark and squished flowers, which would taste not as nice. So I do hope that helps, K-Doc. Next is this from Bella, who also had a question answered last week too, because she has sent in loads of brilliant ones. Thanks, Bella. And Bella asks, why do we do jumping jacks before sports if it just makes us tired to not do sports? Yeah, that is annoying, isn't it? And I have to say, I don't really know the answer to this, Bella, but I think And I guess, in fact, that it's to tire you out so you're not as good at sports, because otherwise the sports teachers, the PE teachers, wouldn't have to teach you anything. And like imagine if you just played sports with no jumping jacks first, then you'd be so much better at them because you'd be full of energy. And then what would the sports teachers or PE teachers do? Nothing. They'd be bored out of their minds. They wouldn't be able to shout or tell you to pay attention or stop talking because you'd already have won all of the Olympics. So I think that's why. It's for their sake. Also, you have to do jumping jacks to honour Jumping Jack, who is the god of all sports. And if you don't, he will make it rain when you're doing outdoor sports and break all of your tennis rackets. So that's also why. Fact. This has been sent in by Anonymous, who was still 9 farting gorillas years old when they sent this in, but they did send this in quite a while ago. Anonymous has also sent in brilliant amounts of questions and jokes, as has Anonymous's brother. So Anonymous asks, where is Linda at? Anonymous, I mean, come on. If I knew where Linda was at, then I wouldn't be sitting here on a carabine, would I? All I ever know is that Linda is not at here. I'm sure she's actually on holiday in a very nice place. In fact, I think she's always on holiday. So, not really an answer, but I mean, will we ever know? I mean, where is Linda? Who is Linda? Does Linda even exist? We just don't know. Next, we've got 2 questions from Reese. And Reese has also sent in brilliant questions before, as has his sister Charlotte. Hello to you both. And Reese, who is 97 stinky hippos old, he says a stinky hippo is about the same amount of time as a month, which, let me work that out. I think that makes him 407 years old. I can't really do the maths. Anyway, he asks, firstly, why does it feel like your body is not touching anything when you're in water? Yeah, I think that's because water is nothingy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like try and describe how water tastes. What does it taste of? Nothing. Right? And don't get me wrong, I drink a lot of water because it's good for you, and I wash in water, and I swim in water, but it's kind of wavy nothing. What does water look like? Nothing, but wobbly. What does it smell like? Nothing really, but sort of wet. How does it feel? Like wet nothing. It's very strange. But sometimes you go swimming in the sea and a fish brushes past your leg and it feels weird. And that does feel weird. Reese also asked, why doesn't the uppy-downy thing that people do with an umbrella have a name? It does have a name, Reese. It's called Gladys. Make sure you Gladys your umbrella when it rains. There you go. And then we've got this amazing question from Caitlin, who is 1 years old, which I think makes her -8. And she's asked, she says, my question is, why is it that at school you have to do the teacher's timetable and what the teacher says to do, but then when you're noisy, they say you guys are just cutting into your own time? It doesn't make sense. Well, Caitlin, it might not make sense to you, but let me explain to you. This is actually easy, and that is because teachers can control time, and when you waste time, you are actually only wasting your time, because what teachers do is at the end of the day, when you're no longer there, they let a few hours go by and then they just rewind them so they can have them again, but kind of even more restful. So all their free time they just have again and again and again. It's a very clever skill. They do obviously use it to like mark exams and all your work and stuff. And it's one of the first things they teach all teachers as they become teachers to do teaching. It's very clever. So you are actually just wasting your time and definitely not theirs. Also, though, if your teacher says you're cutting into your own time or it's your own time you're wasting, you can show them by becoming a teacher when you grow up and get that time back by rewinding it a bit on a weekend or in your spare time. It's very clever because teachers that is their jobs. Yes, exactly, Mysterious Pig. There are still more second questions in the second questions pile, and I'm sure I will get to them in due course, or if I ever have another holiday. But for now, I do need more questions, especially from those of you who've never sent in any before. What do you need to ask? What do you need to know? Get in touch by asking your fading bum-shaped jellies, grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. If they would like you to have the advert-free Linda edition and get episodes a day earlier than everyone else, then your grown-ups can also pay a small monthly fee by going to a link in the podcast blurb. And if enough people join, then I might do some bonus shows, and obviously I'll also use the money to try and have a real holiday where I don't just have to sit on a bean. Do check out our live Comedy Club for Kids shows at comedyclubforkids.co.uk. Grab our t-shirts and book at comedyclubforkids.store, and don't spit in the wind. Just don't. Trust me on it. Don't do it. Do not. Just don't do it. Do not do it. Don't spit in the wind. Don't do it. Trust me on it. Don't do it. Don't. It's windy outside. Don't spit. Normal podcasts will return next week. Yes, they will. No, you can't stop me. I'm only booked to sit on this bean until Saturday, and then I am going home. No, I don't care. You'll have to find someone else to do it. And I'm going to give you guys a really bad rating on TripAdvisor. I have not enjoyed this one bit. Yeah, I was at least expecting a breakfast buffet, but there's just one bean here. Just one bean. I have to sit on it. It is terrible. Right, sorry about that. I will hear you all next week. Bye.
You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.